Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the main event. You're here with me, Daniel.
And Aaron.
Aaron, the international game week has now rounded itself up. We are back into now domestic leagues and soon to be the Champions League. Just as a timestamp for everyone, this is 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon. We have to do it now because Aaron goes on holiday this weekend to sunny America. We're going Georgia.
Yes.
See the wife's family.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much, yeah.
I Steph's family, if you ever watch. You don't. But it's been a bit difficult because it's been so long ago since these last games were played that I think when we touch on the games, it's going to be very, very brief. I watched 4 of them, and one of them, or 2 of them, I think I was drunk. Maybe one of them. I don't think I was drunk for the first game on the Tuesday, but by the second game, I was very much drunk. So obviously seeing the highlights, did you manage to catch any of these games?
No, I was working both Champions League days, to be fair, so I've only seen highlights, and that probably reflects on my scores.
And we did the review.
Don't want to revisit game week 2, so just watch on YouTube our live stream review, and then you can see what our ranks are, I guess.
Well, let's just jump straight into it. Just for people that haven't been here before, we are on Twitter at UCL Fantasy Pod. So give us a follow. Don't forget to like and subscribe to all of our videos. And we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all that good stuff. Today, I've had a few people asking about Limitless. So although we aren't going to do like a Limitless team, every game we're going to go through and basically say, who do we think from this game should be in our Limitless teams, if any at all, and maybe who shouldn't be if there's some popular choices. So first up, Group A, and we do go in alphabetical order. So we've got Brugge versus Man City. Brugge beating Leipzig 2-1. Come on, Brugge! For anyone that doesn't know, I am supporting them this year, and that has been from our preview podcasts. It comes from an affiliation last year when we just loved their players. So I think they're second in the group now, above Man City, joined first with PSG. Happy days. And they play Man City, who lost 2-1, 2-0. 2-0. I've got 2-1 written here. 2-0 to Paris Saint-Germain, which, from what I saw of the game, because I did watch the game, but this is the one that I had a few beers for, it seemed to come against the run of play, that one. From what I was seeing, Man City were marginally the better team. But obviously, PSG taking their chances a little better. In terms of the league form and the last game that they played, like I say, we've had an international break since then. Bruges drew 1-1. They aren't doing well in the Belgian Pro League. They are 3rd or 4th in the league or something like that, which isn't great for them. And Man City drew 2-2 with Liverpool, which was an incredible game. Liverpool seemed to just be playing some unbelievable games recently. They've had Brentford before, they've got Man City now. Man City rampant in that first half, should have been well ahead. Liverpool with a really good comeback in the second half, well managed from Klopp. The major news sort of that I've got from these is Torres is injured for about a month. And with regards to Bruges, Ritz was the player that scored, centre midfielder. He scored for Bruges in that 1-1 draw. The great news for this is we don't have to guess. This is the early kickoff. So anyone on Limitless, I think, should really be looking to plow into this game for safety. You know that these players are going to play. You're right there.
Yeah. I don't know what's happening. It just, as we've pressed record, my throat's just flared up. COVID.
I'm using my force powers, but it's because we're about to talk about Vanek and Skywalker. That's why.
Yeah, you're just choking me.
Yeah, Darth Vader's not playing, so I've got to do his part for him. Fitted well, that. So, how do you think this game is going to go, Aaron? Man City away to Bruges.
I think Man City, this is a must-win for them, because if they don't, it's kind of crunch time in terms of the last 3 fixtures. I think they would rather be able to kind of rotate later as group game weeks 5 and 6 or match days, always do that, because that's when the Christmas schedule for the League Cup, Premier League gets crazy, Man City would love to be able to just rotate their team. So I think that they're more likely going to rest a few players this week in the Premier League to face their full strength squad for this. Like I've heard, like Sterling's going to play in the Premier League, etc. Or he's rumored to. You can't really trust it.
Everyone is playing in the Premier League. I've seen about 600 different team sheets from people totally guessing.
I don't know why he would do it. Like, literally, Pep's the only one that knows. And even then, I think sometimes he literally just throws darts at walls and just goes, you know what? That's great.
It's. I'm guessing you. Have you ever seen South Park before? There's an episode where it's called Cartoon Wars, where they get into like a fight with Family Guy, and they say that the Family Guy writers for jokes are two manatees that pick balls at random with like a pronoun, a verb, a noun, and it's like, and then they just put these 5 words together to make a joke. It's like, oh my god, it's like that time I ate spaghetti bolognese with Saddam Hussein while skiing in Vienna. Like they don't have to make sense, and that's kind of what Pep Guardiola does. It's just Cancelo attacking midfield. Okay, then I just picks it out of a hat.
Honestly, that's how it feels sometimes. In terms of like their players, I think that since Foden's gotten back into the starting 11, Torres hasn't really been playing. Anyways, like it's kind of been interchangeable between Foden up front, seeing like Gabriel Jesus as a right winger now, and De Bruyne.
Over hat, he could be left back next week.
So, I think just the fact that it's a early game means that us on Limitless or considering Limitless are gonna really, really benefit from it. I think everyone's going to benefit from it in terms of having people play on the first day. You get to see the team sheets. I think Man City, even though Brugge haven't been any pushovers this season, but I think they're going to be the most transferred in players because we get the team sheets before we play. I think the advantage goes to Limitless people though, because Man City then switch to playing on the second day, match day 4. And then that's when you kind of want to be transferring in some Chelsea players. A nice little switch off there, similar price points. But I'm really happy for Bruges, doing amazing. Vanaken, unbelievable. Out of the 2 teams, he's got the most points by, I think, 9 more than Grealish, who's in second. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good game because did they face each other last year as well?
No, Bruges got knocked out in the groups. It was Lazio and Dortmund that qualified from the group.
But I still think Bruges will give them a really, really good game, the same way they did with PSG. So I'm
was it not? It was either last year or the year before. Atalanta played Man City, and they've got the same colour kit. So you might, if your brain's just thinking of Atalanta, maybe.
Yeah, potentially. But seeing like I'm going to Atlanta. It's like Atalanta, pretty close.
Totally opposite directions, but yeah, they're right next to each other. Bruges are a bit of a conundrum. Both teams are in a sense that Man City, they've scored 6 and conceded 5 in the Champions League so far this season, which is polar opposite to their league form. They're kind of like the anti-Liverpool from last year, where they were dreadful in the league defensively and kept clean sheets in the Champions League for fun. And then there's Bruges, who are really poor in their league this year, but seem to be raising and elevating their game for Champions League fixtures, which kind of puts me off a little bit with Man City. I can't even remember my team, to be honest. I haven't looked at it. But I wouldn't be overly keen on going with Manchester City defenders. If Cancelo's playing, he's the one that is probably fine because he's the one that might get an attack in return. If you are on Limitless and Kevin De Bruyne is playing, you're just crazy not to have him. He's the most expensive player in the game for a reason. I know people don't think he's in the best form at the minute, which is understandable. He's a bit hit and miss, but even if you look at his goal against Liverpool, which is maybe should be an own goal, he was the one that played that ball straight through for Foden. So even when he's playing under par for Kevin De Bruyne and people are slagging him, he's playing better than 90% of the league anyway. That's how good he is. So
he's still returning from injury, to be fair.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a game against Burnley, which I think he probably will play. I think Pep wants to try and get him as fit as possible, as quickly as possible. We don't have the Torres headache for Burnley now. We won't have it for... It's actually given me a headache because I thought he would play and he was in my wildcard team for FPL. But we don't have those headaches. I just think if you're going to treble up, Cancelo and 2 forwards and add class... I mean, De Bruyne as a midfielder, but all of Pep's midfielders play as forwards. So pick 2 midfielders that play in forward positions is what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way. Is there anyone else that you'd go for on Limitless from this game? I'd actually say if you've got Limitless, go Vanaken because you know he's going to play. You know he's safe to play. He's on pens and Man City defensively aren't great. He's like 7.5 million these days. So it's just about safety. You know he's going to play. You're going to have the team sheet. There's no messing around. I would have Vanaken.
Mm-hmm. Other than that, there's no one I would really add. Potentially Foden.
Yeah.
Other than that,
he goes into the Man City midfield. They'll play a 4-3-3. De Bruyne will play. I think you're right. If you look at Burnley, who they usually smash 5-0 regardless of what team they play, versus Brugge, who have drawn with PSG and should have won, and have beaten Leipzig to technically the same goal ratio that Man City beat Leipzig at 2-1. I think Pep will have more of an eye on that Brugge game, and that is a significantly tougher fixture and a more important one because we are a little bit behind. We can't afford to lose to these, and we should really be winning. So I can see a stronger team, and if Foden's playing, he's in brilliant form the way he's been playing recently. So I wouldn't hesitate to go for him in the slightest. So probably if the 3 of them played, Cancelo, De Bruyne, Foden would be, and then go Vanaken.
After that, it's just kind of whoever gets the goal, because it could be literally any of them.
Sterling. What do you think the score's going to be?
I think Man City will win 2-1.
Yeah, I'll go with the same scoreline. I'm written down any scores. I'm making all these up off the top of my head. PSG, Leipzig. Obviously, we've just talked about their results. PSG lost 2-0 in their last game in the league. And the trio all played. Messi, Neymar, Mbappe all played. There is an amazing bit of analysis on those 3 playing together by The Athletic, which I will quote a little bit in this, but I just want to be honest that it is lifted from them, that it's not me saying this. Although it is fairly obvious. And when they were going through the video for the solutions, it was one of them where, do you know when you talk to yourself and you're watching a video and you're like, oh, they should do this. And then they're saying, you're like, right, yeah, it's fairly obvious what should be happening. Herrera was dropped. Mendes looks to be the first choice left back now. So he's a solid pick. But in this group, is that what you want? I'm not too sure. Leipzig with a 3-0 win. And Kunku got another 2 goals. I don't know what else you want from the lad if you don't have him already. And again, he would be another limitless wildcard choice. Maybe instead of Vanaken. I don't think I'd go 2 Man City, Vanaken and Kunku on a limitless. What do you make of these 2?
Paris Saint-Germain, it's because we've not really seen like the full strength 11 play consistently together. It's kind of still up in the air because they're not performing to the caliber that they are capable of in the French league. And so they don't really fill you enough with confidence. And Leipzig are, even though they're not kind of the Leipzig from a few seasons ago that made it to the semi-final, I still think that they'll give Paris Saint-Germain like a good game, the same way that Bruges did. Like this team can be got at, especially if they get a bit complacent, which some of their stars can. It really just depends on the mentality. I don't know in terms of like the whole kind of international teams and having to isolate when they get back. Does that affect any of the front three for Paris Saint-Germain or any of the other players like Marquinhos and stuff? Because I've not heard too much about it.
So.
The only players I've heard is FPL related.
Yeah, it's because I think the English laws are different to the rest of mainland Europe's laws regarding travel and coming back in quarantine. And obviously we've got our green, amber, red list. I don't think Europe specifically have that particular like system. So I don't think they need to work around it. In La Liga, there, if anyone's travelled majorly, they've cancelled the games. Like Atletico Madrid's been postponed, so loads of games being postponed for the Brazil fixtures and stuff. Because Klopp was complaining about that this morning, about how we don't do that. Just fair enough. But I think their trio should be ready to play. But I don't think they work well together anyway. Too many cooks in the kitchen. Mbappe favours drifting off to that left. Very, very Henry-like, where even though he plays in a certain position, he'll pop off to that left, which comes into Neymar's space. Messi is currently playing as a 10 on the right wing, where Angel Di Maria is trying to do his thing, and then there's no one in the middle. They look significantly better when Ander Herrera is playing, because he does work as a box-to-box. He's sort of gained this reputation as a holding midfielder, which is nonsense. He's a out-and-out central mid. So I think the three of them with Angel Di Maria don't particularly work very well, but Angel Di Maria is the hardest working one of the four. He's the one that'll do the defensive duties. So Pochettino's got a bit of a headache. I think, honestly, they should probably just put Messi on the right wing and be done with it. If they want to play all three of them together. Mbappe is obviously not too happy at the minute. There's still loads of talks about him going to Real Madrid, and that's where he wants to be. So they don't fill me with confidence there front three at all. Like PSG as a team will always do well. The quality of their players throughout the team. And it's not to say that obviously either of the front three aren't even great. They are great. It's just how are they working together as a team? And they've not clicked at all. Messi has one goal for them since they played together. I don't know if Mbappe has scored when they've all been on the pitch, and I don't think Neymar has. I think Neymar's got an assist. So there's lots of work there to be done. And with someone like Nkunku in such good form, I think he's going to exploit some frailties in defence. That being said, Leipzig aren't very good either. Like they're up and down. They're very sporadic. They'll win one game 3-0 and then they'll lose the next game 3-0. So I'm actually really excited to see that game. I think that might be the game of choice to watch. Just looking through from the Tuesday fixtures, I think that's going to be really, really interesting to see. Can PSG's forwards perform? Can Leipzig's defence hold them off? I mean, if you put Messi on the right, he's playing against Jose Tassend, Angelino, at left wing back, and he's going to murder him. Absolutely. Like, I would not play Messi in the middle in this game when it's a very congested area. But Messi likes to drop into the middle now. He likes to play everywhere. Central midfielder, pick the ball up. He kind of does what he wants. He's earned the right to do that, but I don't think it works well for a system. Might have worked well at Barcelona when he didn't feel like anyone else could do that job. But Pochettino, I think, needs to manage him a bit better.
I agree. I think that like they have the potential when they click to be one of the most dominant attacks in Europe. In world football, I mean, when people say Europe and world football, it's kind of the same thing. There's not many teams outside of Europe that can challenge. But I think just in terms of even challenging for the Champions League, which is obviously what Paris Saint-Germain's big goal is, like they have to click and they have to do it quick. So I think that it's going to come down. They've got to do it soon. All of them are fit, and Poch just needs to find a way to get them all on the field at the same time in a system that works, and not just let Messi just do what he wants, because we see with Argentina that just doesn't work. So
Yeah,
I think
Argentina have been a bit better recently, haven't they? They seem to have kind of
because they've got that system now. We've seen in the past where it's been like, we'll
give the
just
ball to
stick
Messi.
Messi, Aguero, Higuain. We'll just stick them all up front and kind of just hope for the best. You need that system, because otherwise all you have to do is stick 4 players on Messi, and Argentina they're still a quality team. No disrespect to them, but it's a lot easier to play against without the system. And Poch just needs to be careful that he doesn't fall into the same mistake.
Yeah, and if we look at Messi's most prolific time at Barcelona, you've got Luis Enrique, and Pep Guardiola, who are both ex-players of Barcelona, both play very, very similar brands of football. I think they're both really close friends. And he played in a system. I mean, even when I think of that Barcelona team, even though Messi is the best player, he's arguably the best player of all time, my brain automatically just goes to Xavi Iniesta, like just naturally. And even obviously later on, it was Rakitic sort of jumping in there. Busquets was always behind, but there's always the best Barcelona teams, the best. Not only the best Barcelona team, but if you look at the team that dismantled them, Bayern Munich, even though they pound for pound, player for player, they weren't as good as that Barcelona team. It's the system that'll win. You look at Liverpool and Man City's dominance when they had that ridiculous title race and like finished with 99 points a year later or whatever, Liverpool, and winning the league. Klopp and Guardiola have systems, so it's really important that they find a system and not just rely on, Messi's great, Neymar's great, Mbappe is great, just let them do whatever they want. What do you think the score will be?
I'm going to go, I don't think either side will keep a clean sheet. So probably Paris Saint-Germain. I'll hope that they click. I'll say 3-1 or 3-2.
I'm going to go 2-2. I think it'll be a draw, 2-2 draw. King and Kunku for the 2-2. Well, is there anyone else that is there anyone that you put on limitless from this team?
Potentially Hakimi. Maybe Marquinhos, because obviously the Paris Saint-Germain are going to be tested. But if on a limitless, you probably just try and get the attacking outputs of Hakimi more than Marquinhos, or I don't even know if Ramos is even in the team yet. But
Hakimi seems to do better when the front three aren't playing, like again, because that system, and he's allowed to just run rampant. I think sometimes maybe again when there's certain quality up there that he's like, oh, do I need to be up there? We'll go on to Group B. Let's take my time here. So Liverpool versus Atletico Madrid. Liverpool smashing FC Porto. We didn't get that right at all. And Atletico Madrid drew 1-1 with AC Milan, your team. So we'll let you talk about that game. But Liverpool, King Salah, he is the king. If you've got limitless, he's the first name on your limitless. It doesn't matter who he's playing. You just have to have him in, I think, at this point. And I've got a couple of mil to maybe go Sané up to him. But I've got to have a look at Bayern's fixtures and stuff. I think I might just be keeping him anyway. Trent's back, apparently. He's been training. He's due to play against Watford, so we imagine he's going to be back for the Atletico Madrid game. The Brazilian boys, we don't know if they're actually going to play this game. Klopp has said they're out of the Watford game. That's Alisson, Fabinho. Firmino didn't travel. Jota has picked up an injury for Portugal, and I don't think he played a minute for Portugal. I think he picked it up in training, came back, and no idea when he's back. So it is a little bit up in the air. If Alisson and Fabinho are out, then that massively improves Atletico Madrid's chances. But I do think they'll be back. I think that's a little bit of overthinking. For Atletico Madrid, they beat Barcelona 2-0 before the international break. Jimenez and Llorente maybe doubts for this game. Keep an eye on it. I wouldn't worry too much. Suarez and Lamar assisted each other for a goal each. Something to think about. Although, again, have a look to see if we know if Liverpool's keeper and holding midfielder are going to be out or not before piling into these. Interpol is back, so we'll talk about Argentina. DePaul, Argentinian holding midfielder, is back, which means Kondogbia's place is in doubt. DePaul played against Barcelona, not Kondogbia, so that could be a little headache for us. I mean, you can talk about the Atletico Madrid game because you support Milan. I'm guessing you saw a little bit more of that.
Yeah, the very questionable decisions, to be honest. Yes, Kessie, like that red card, like changed the game, to be fair. AC Milan did well to hold on for the point. Did they lose? My brain's
Oh, they lost 2-1, didn't they?
Yeah,
I've written down 1-1, but it was like the 90 ridiculous minute.
+7, I think.
Yeah, sorry. My bad. It's 2-1.
And so that changed the game, did well to hold on for as long as they did. But then, just in typical Atletico Madrid fashion, just playing up to the ref, just getting all the decisions, and it puts AC Milan in a really bad situation. And so, not looking forward to getting Porto and only escaping with a point or something like that. Like, just typical of AC Milan, but it's good to have them back in the Champions League. I think with Atletico Madrid, it's just one of them things where if they click, they'll be a good team, which is going to go back to being difficult to beat. I just don't know what it is currently about these kind of teams where I think maybe it's just because we've had an international break every 2 weeks, or if that's what it feels like.
I think every 4. I think every 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's just 2 weeks.
There's another one in 4 weeks.
Yeah, it's too much. Obviously, COVID's made that happen. But I just think this group, it's Liverpool's to lose, in my opinion, just with the way that they're playing. And then the other places are up for grabs between Atletico Madrid and Porto, with AC Milan potentially doing a challenge for third place, in my opinion. It all just depends on if the team can click, if Atletico Madrid can click, because Porto are already a solid machine and already difficult to beat. So some very interesting and very tight games I can see in this group, other than Liverpool, which is theirs to lose if they keep playing the way that they are.
Is there anyone from this game that you'd go limitless on, other than Salah and Trent? I'm sure we'd both pick Trent.
Mane has been potentially in good form, because with the limitless, you could go Mane and Salah. I did that last year.
How did that work out for you? Did it go well?
Really, yeah, both scored. Salah assisted Mane's goal, so I think they both came out the game with 11 points, and I captained Salah as well. So 30 points between them two was great. Salah's the safer one, but Mane is a little bit of a
tricky punt.
Yeah, I would say, which is, I mean, it's kind of reflecting that in FPL as well. He's in great form. I think his form is like 5.5, but he's only owned by less than 10% as a premium. So
price, isn't it? It's his price.
But on a limitless, you can have both, and then if it doesn't work, it's better than having that on a defensive mid potentially, because Mane's ceiling's really, really high.
What do you think the score is going to be from this game?
I've got to go with Liverpool. So 3-1.
For me, it depends on the Brazilians. If they aren't back, I'm going to say 2-2. If they are back, I'm going to say Liverpool 2-0.
I've got Fabinho in my team. So if I find out that they're not going back, that's potentially leaning me towards a limitless.
Okay, interesting. Porto, Milan. Porto, their last game, they won 2-1. Wendell and Luis Diaz. We'll always talk about Luis Diaz. if you want to have a Porto player, he's the one to have this year, unless you're going defensively. But they've not been as secure. They did all right in the first game, obviously. I think Liverpool might just have their number because it's not a typical performance from Porto. They are a really defensive team. And we said the goalkeeper would make loads of saves. He got 2 points despite conceding 5 goals in that game. Milan won 3-2. I'll let you talk about that more. Calabria, the captain at right back, scored, who's 4.5 in the game. Tonali and Leao got a goal. The major news is Mainan, the goalkeeper, is out for 2 weeks. And Theo Hernandez has COVID. So he's out. So I know that lots of people had him on Limitless last time. I think a lot of people got him in on Wildcard. So I think if you've got Mainan Hernandez, you're in a bit of bother because that's 2 of your transfers used. Unless you're not asked about your keeper. You just say, yeah, I can roll with that. But Theo Hernandez at 5.5 million needs to come out if you have him. What did you make? So what did you make of Milan in terms of that game opposed to Atletico?
I think AC Milan are even not being biased, them and Atalanta are the 2 best teams in Italy currently, and they're just playing like it. They're confident.
That's who they played. That's who they played as well. Just to clarify, when Milan won 3-2 at the weekend, it was against Atalanta. They were 3-0 up, and Atalanta scored 2 goals
to try and come back.
They scored in the 85th, in the 94th minute or something like that.
Yeah, so I think in terms of the performance, it was really, really solid. And then they started to make the substitutes, which let Atalanta sneak back in. 2 very dangerous teams. And the fact that AC Milan came out on top, I think the title challenge in Italy is going to be what AC Milan are mostly going to aim for. Just try and get through to the next Champions League round just to receive the money for it. But this group was always going to be a tough ask, especially being in pot 4. But they're just a solid team and just playing really well. The coach is making sure that they've got really good attacking phases of play and they can hurt you on the right. But then obviously Hernandez is a big part of their attack down the left. And I don't trying to remember who their second choice left back is, but
it's been that long.
It's Hernandez or nothing really in terms of attacking output. So that's going to hurt the team. And Kessie out for this game as well. Tonali and I don't know how to fully pronounce his name, but either way, he's not going to be in consideration.
Who isn't going to be in consideration?
Like the 2 defensive midfielders for AC Milan. So Diaz, if you're not doing for a limitless, probably Diaz is still in consideration potentially because you could use him the same way you would use a defensive midfielder, like a really, really cheap one. And that way he's still going to try and get attacking returns. But also, if you're trying to get someone in and you're tight on budget, someone like Salamakers or someone would be a good, interesting punt.
Yeah. For Porto, I think Luis Diaz is a forward, 7.5. I think that rules him out. It's too premium, the forwards. You've just got to get the best players up there. And it's so 7.5 might be all right, especially if Milan don't have their holding midfielder and left back. It could be better. I'm happy with the goalkeeper because I think Milan's goal scoring potential will drop a little bit without Theo Hernandez, who I'm sure he got an assist in this game. So, yeah, just both teams aren't at it as best as they could be. Milan in terms of their players and Porto just in terms of their mixed form. What do you think the score is going to be?
1-1 draw.
Yeah, I'll go 1-1 as well. We've got Group C, Ajax versus Dortmund. Meunier, Haaland, and Dahoud. All doubts. Sorry. Loads of people have Meunier. Loads of people have Haaland. I'm glad that I got him out of my wild card. They are doubts for this weekend's game and doubts for midweek, but keep an eye out on this weekend's games because obviously I don't think Dahoud's going to be fit, but Meunier, Haaland, particularly Haaland, keep an eye out, see if they're even on the bench. Because if they're fit enough to be on the bench, they'll be fit enough for midweek, I imagine. And that is a fixture that we've all looked at and thought, yeah, I fancy some of that Dortmund. The 1-2-1 at the weekend, Brandt scored, Royce with the assist, and Guerrero took the pen to score. So if you've got Guerrero, you've got a pen taker. Ajax lost 1-0 at the weekend. Or I say at the weekend. If I say at the weekend on this podcast, I mean like 2 weeks ago. Before the international break. Ajax with 100% start in the Champions League as well as Dortmund. Ajax winning 2-0 in the last game against Besiktas. Dortmund winning 1-0 against Sporting. Stecklenburg is out for Ajax, so if you've got him, I don't think you would have because he was injured for the last game. It looks like Ajax's third choice goalkeeper is looking absolute mustard to be playing every game. He's very cheap. I think he's also 4.5. So that's looking really good. I don't think it's going to be a clean sheet in this game for either team. Cue the 0-0. How do you think this one's going to go?
I think a lot of people are getting excited about Haaland, especially because of his trending video that's been going around social media.
The triple kick thing.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it, but I saw that it was trending.
Yeah, so people are seeing him do that, kicking the ball into the top corner and being like, oh, he's fit. Like, that has no indication on whether you're fit or not. Playing Champions League and top level professional football is different to balancing 3 balls on top of each other and kicking them all in the same spot. If he is fit, great. We know that his accuracy is on point.
Yeah.
When was that ever in doubt, anyways? So I think it's Ajax's to lose for definite. And but without Haaland, it just makes it such more of an even game. And I'm not that I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited to watch the highlights and interested to see how the result turns out. But
yeah,
it's going to be very interesting in terms of the implications on the group.
Would you have any players on wildcard in this game? Or not wildcard, limitless wildcard, sorry.
Potentially Bellingham, if you don't have him already.
You see, I think he's dropped off. Not because of his performances, it's just in terms of attack and output. Haaland is so important. He's so important. So, I think also with like players like Julian Brandt coming back in, it alters his position slightly because he's a very versatile player, Jude, which is a great strength. But when he's getting all these attacking returns, he was playing on the right side of a diamond, like quite attacking wise. And I just don't think that's the case anymore. So I just think there's going to be other players you're going to want. I mean, Chelsea got Malmo, haven't they? So you're going to want Chelsea midfielders. You're going to want to guess. If you're on Limitless, have a guess. You're going to have 4 of them mustard midfielders, so you may as well have a punt. I think it's Haaland or bust, and you need to see if he's going to play this weekend or if he's fit. I mean, if he's fit for this game, then he's the difference maker. I think, like in terms of, I know I normally ask you the scores first, but if Haaland doesn't play, I think Ajax will win 2-1, and I think if he does play, Dortmund will win 3-2. That's genuinely how I feel about that situation. What do you reckon the score will be?
I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw, regardless of whether Haaland plays or not. I think just because the pressure's so high on both groups to get a result from this game. I'll go with 2-2.
The next game we're going to talk about super briefly, because these two are on 0 points. They're not great. Sporting won 2-1 at the weekend, 2 weeks ago. Santos and Nunes with the goals. One's a left back and one's a centre mid. I don't think it's going to be overly replicable just because they scored a goal. I still think Palinha and Paulinho are the two best options, and I wouldn't go really with either of them. Maybe Palinha for these next 2 games because he is 5 million, which is really important to say, especially if I think Kondogbia isn't going to get a game for DePaul. Go back to Palinha, 5 million, 2 games against Besiktas. I think this is Sporting's level. Besiktas, I didn't even look at, because if you wanted a Besiktas player, you'd know about them already. And it's just not the case. So why waste anyone's time? I wouldn't go for any of the players from either of the teams on a limitless. And I'm going to say Sporting win 2-0. Done. What do you think?
Definitely Palinha is still a good shout. Paulinho, I think he's having good form in the league, but it's just not replicating to Europe. Mind you, he's had 2 difficult games. But yeah, I think probably just on to the next game.
On to the next game. Group, what was your score?
Go Sporting 2-0.
So Group D, Inter versus Sheriff. So I watched the Inter game against Shakhtar. They drew 0-0, and watched. I caught the highlights of Sheriff versus Real Madrid. 2-1 to Sheriff. Unbelievable stuff. I think if we just talk briefly about Sheriff first, their standout player that I genuinely think people now we might have missed the boat, but that people should be looking at is their left back, Carlos. I think that's his name. Is it Carlos? Cristiano. Sorry.
Cristiano.
You know what? I'm thinking that he is Roberto Carlos, and I've just called him Carlos, and his name's Cristiano. I'm like, that's not right. In my mind, he is playing like Roberto Carlos. So yeah, Cristiano. Sorry. He's class. I think out of the 4 goals they've scored, he got the first 3 assists. It's 4.5 million. He's probably due a price rise. I might put him in. I don't care. For fun, why not? Imagine sharing Sheriff on each week. Although against Inter, it's him versus Dumfries. It's going to be such an low-key entertaining watch, trying to outscore each other. For that Inter game, there were it was quite a sporadic game. Shakhtar could comfortably have won that game 3-0, and Inter could have won that game 3-0. It was one of those games where it's like the Fury Wilder boxing match where they're just smashing each other's faces in the best they could, but without actually landing any blows, unfortunately. Dumfries, we talked about it in the review show. If he was at full fitness, I think he would have got an attack in return, because he was in the box so often, and you could tell it was just that little bit of sharpness in the box he was missing, which is an absolutely hilarious thing to say about a right back. But he looks so dangerous. I'm really happy to have him. I know Sheriff have been in good form, and I know Sheriff can score, and at this point it's disrespectful to even remotely doubt what they're capable of. But Shakhtar did this last year, and we saw what happened to them. I do think there is a finite life cycle to what they are able to achieve, unfortunately. I mean, I hope it continues. I'd love it if they beat Inter, even though I've got an Inter player. I'd absolutely love it. But I think Inter would be a really good team to go in on limitless wildcard. Not Martinez. Big Lautaro, I just think he's flat to deceive. I don't think he's been particularly great. But I think you could be looking at Inter defenders and maybe Nicola Barella. But other than that, I'm not too sure. What about you for this game? What are you making of everyone? And also, is there any injury news? I didn't look, so I just thought you'd tell me.
No like standout injuries as far as I'm aware. But I would actually disagree in terms of, I said the disagree on this podcast. I know, shocking.
For the first time ever.
In terms of Lautaro, because he the system's starting to get tailored so that he is the main guy. They've stopped playing well in the last league game. They didn't play Dzeko because they think that Correa is a better kind of a sister to Lautaro. So it really just depends on how they play against Lazio this weekend. Lazio are always a dangerous team for Inter Milan. They're always pretty much evenly matched, and I think this is it's the coach against his old team, so it'll be interesting to see what happens as a result of that. Really interesting watch in terms of Serie A. I think Lautaro against Sheriff. I don't think his ceiling's high, so whether he's worth coming in on a limitless when the forward spots are so precious, potentially not. But if you have like a last minute injury, say you haven't had Haaland out yet, 2 games against Sheriff, I think Martinez could potentially, well, he's going to be involved somehow. I think Dzeko, we were quite excited for Dzeko for these 2 games. That was before we saw what Sheriff were capable of. And also as Dzeko's price point. But I think with Correa being in, it kind of puts Dzeko's spot, even though he scored in the last game, came on as a sub to do that. So I think Lautaro is the safest attacking option for Inter. I think he has more of a solid floor than some of the other forwards around his price point, especially with some of the form that they're in. But like I agree with what you were saying about Dumfries and Skriniar. Like we said that, like I said at the start of the season, that if he was the same price as De Vrij, it's not even close. You would go with Skriniar. But even that, both of them are very capable centre backs. So if you wanted to get one of them in, Dumfries probably the first defender you would get in from Inter. If you wanted to double up on a limitless, get Skriniar. If not, De Vrij would save you the 0.5, but doubling up on Inter can be quite dangerous. So
they looked shaky against Shakhtar. There were a few moments where I was very grateful that Shakhtar weren't very good in front of goal, because if they were playing a good team, they would have got battered, absolutely battered. What do you think the score for this game is going to be?
I'm going to go Inter 2-0. I think actually, now that I've mentioned that, Handanovic as a potential limitless goalkeeper could be an interesting shout, because we know that Inter are leaky enough that he would get save points, and Dumfries is potentially going to be quite a popular transfer in, and Skriniar and De Vrij, because they both did really well in the last game in terms of ball recovery and player of the game. So Handanovic and doubling up that way could potentially be a good option. But if you were limitless, and potentially Skriniar would be better. But Handanovic is an option because goalkeepers are quite hard to pick this year.
Yeah. I'm going to go 1-1 up the Sheriff. Next game, Shakhtar versus Madrid. Let's start with Madrid just purely in terms of fitness issues. I mean, this list is as long as my arm.
Yeah.
So first of all, not only did they get beat 2-1 off Sheriff, they got beat 2-1 in the last league game. Benzema scored. So if you've got Benzema, he seems to be knocking in a goal a game at the minute. Here we go. Asensio may be back. Alaba should be fine. Mendy might be back. Carvajal is a major doubt. Camavinga is a major doubt. Hazard could be back. And Militao is a major doubt. So pause it, rewind it, write those down. If you've got any of those players, I think looking at it, Militao in Alaba are going to be the ones that people probably got. Militao, major doubt. Alaba should be fine. I'm sorry if either of those two bits of information turn out incorrect, but it's what I've been reliably informed of via the internet. I mean, Real Madrid, They aren't in good form either. Like the up and down and all around. Teams are really struggling to be dominant recently, so it's quite tough. But with Shakhtar, they drew. Obviously, they drew with Inter 0-0, but they also drew their last league game 0-0. So it's not exactly like they're prolific. And we saw how poor their shooting was against Inter. And yet, for some reason, the three players I've written down here, Alan Patrick, Macon, and I put Traore with a question mark afterwards. I wouldn't go Traore. I don't think he's very good. I think he was fine in the Eredivisie. But if I was to go for a Shakhtar player that I think could do a bit of damage against Madrid, it would be Alan Patrick or Macon, and I still wouldn't go with them, if I'm being... Just in terms of you've got 5 players to pick, I don't think I'd be picking either of them. Would you pick any Shakhtar players?
I would not indeed.
Real Madrid players, would you pick any other than Benzema?
I've got Casemiro still in my team.
Yeah.
He's not really produced his, say, 4 or 5 points lately, so tough.
I'm very happy I didn't go with them. Because usually with Casemiro, you just get some indications. You'll get a goal or an assist, or he plays well, but I don't think he's been playing very well. I think Vinicius Jr. is always a good shout. Personally, I think if you want a Real Madrid attack against the Shakhtar team, because they did look open against Inter as well. Inter had some bad finishing. And you wanted to go against Benzema, Vinicius Jr. for me is the one that you'd have to go for. He's also a forward, and he's more than capable. He's been excellent this season. Him and Benzema have been their 2 best forward players in terms of output. Maybe Courtois. He could get some saves again, only if you're on limitless. If you're normal, 0 chance. But I think he could make a few saves. It's away. I can't remember what the score was last year away. I know that Shakhtar beat Real Madrid 3-2 at home, but Benzema scored in that game. He came off the bench to score, so could be. I think this is set up well for like a Benzema player, to be honest. Very happy that I've got Benzema on my team. I don't think he'll be going anywhere. What do you think the score will be?
I'll go Real Madrid 2-1.
I'll go Real Madrid 3-1.
All right, so we'll move on to Group E, starting off with Bayern Munich versus Benfica. Quite excited for this game. In terms of Bayern Munich injury news, I mean, I'm still injured from not having Lewandowski in my team last time, so I guess you could put that in there. But I think
what an idiot.
There's no new fresh injuries, like new injuries is what I'm aware of. But I think a lot of it is just depending on the road to recovery for a lot of these other players. We know Kingsley Coman probably isn't going to play. Whether that ups the appeal for if you're not limitless and still keeping Musiala in your team if you took that punt, but also Sane, who performed unbelievably in the last game as well, and also Gnabry as well. It'll be interesting to see how they do on the weekend. Lewandowski, he is a must. If you don't have him, like me, limitless then potentially me, Lewandowski is going to be one of the first strikers in the team. Even though Benfica can be quite hard to play against, Lewandowski is the best striker in the world, and he just needs to be in your team.
That's it. Literally it.
In terms of other people, like defenders, midfielders, is there anyone that you've got your eye on?
I tell you who I don't have my eye on, Hernandez, who was off to prison. So
yes, left that one out.
So if you've got Lucas Hernandez, don't have Lucas Hernandez. You won't have him for a year. I mean, he might get out for good behaviour.
I think we told people at the start not to have him.
Yeah, I think we told people not to have him anyway because he gets injured a bit.
Out of position.
I still attest to the fact that he's one of the best centre-backs in the world. He's absolutely unbelievable at centre-back. He's a very distinctly average left-back. And that's where he normally plays, but he has been playing centre-back. But yeah, he's got to be in court on the 18th in Madrid. for an offence from 2010, 2011, one of the two. Either way, it was a long time ago. But the judge hasn't forgotten. Just because he forgot about it, the judge hasn't. So he's got to go to Madrid to pick a penitentiary of his choice, which I believe was the words used. So don't have him. Kimmich is if you're limitless in, always have Kimmich. Just always have Kimmich. He's not going to get any ball recoveries, I don't think. Maybe 1 point max. He's usually like a 2 ball recoveries kind of guy, so he usually falls a bit short. But he's the one that's most likely to get attacking returns. In midfield or anywhere else, I think you pick Sané or Gnabry. Go with either one of them. I'd go Sané. I think he's in better form. I think he's the better player anyway. I just think he had 6 months of being a bit, mentally probably. But I think overall, the best I've seen of Gnabry and the best I've seen of Sané, I prefer Sané anyway. That being said, Gnabry can go off any day as well. So, Lever, Sané or Gnabry, Kimmich, on your limitless, get it done. Benfica, however...
Sorry, I was just saying that. Do you think that the thing with Hernandez boosts Alphonso Davies' appeal because he's had a really good international break with Canada?
No, because I think Hernandez has been playing centre-back anyway, mainly with Upamecano, and Shula has moved off to rotate with Pavard at right-back. So I think that position was Davies. Anyway, it was Davies and Richards on the left recently. Davies is still Davies. He had a great international break, but he doesn't play in the same position for Canada. He's not a left back for Canada. And we've never
just been put there to fill a spot.
Exactly. So it's not that he's a bad pick. It's just I don't know, like he's fine. I think people just look at the Semedo moment where he just had his pants down and got the assist against Bayern Munich, and that's just in the forefront of their minds, and they don't really watch every week. And like, he's a perfectly fine left back. Obviously, he's excellent going forward. He's very suspect getting back, but he's like Kyle Walker. He's the Canadian Kyle Walker, where he's there for his recovery pace, which makes it difficult, but he doesn't get very many attacking returns for all these excitement levels going forward. He doesn't return that much. Mm-hmm. Which is why I'd rather pay the extra and have Kimmich, who's playing centre midfield, is on a lot of the set pieces. Like if it was FPL, I think he would have got an assist for Lewandowski's penalty but in this game it's not for handball. Benfica, I don't know what the score was, but I know obviously they beat Barcelona 3-0, amazing result.
The last game they lost 1-0.
And the drew 0-0 with Dynamo Kiev.
Yeah, so I think that the win against Barcelona, on paper, you would think, oh, this is going to be a good game. I think that's more of a testament to how bad Barcelona are these days compared to how good Benfica are. I still think it's going to be a very comfortable Bayern Munich win. If you do want to take a punt, just pick a forward player. Like I think it was, I can't remember whoever, but one of their forward players scored twice last time. Just go with him. He scored a penalty. So, but I just don't know why you would sacrifice a forward spot for them when Bayern Munich are going to be. I think this game, because they play each other back to back, don't they?
Yeah.
So I think because this game is in Portugal, this will be the harder of the two. But I still think Bayern Munich will be comfortable winners, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. If you want a forward, go with the lad. Just go with it. Like the best. It's pointless looking at league form sometimes. If you have someone like Taremi last year, where it was like, whoa, this kid scored 6 in a row, then yeah, zone in on a player like that. But that's not really happening in the league too much. So it's often better to go, well, we've all seen these play in the Champions League. We all know who we should be getting at this point. Defensively, I think you could get some defenders in, but not for the next 2 weeks against Bayern Munich. But the next time we've got to play Barcelona and the next time we've got to play Dynamo Kiev, I'll certainly be looking at some Benfica defenders because I think as well they'll be pushing to get through this group. I think they'll finish second now.
Yeah. I think,
But against Lever and Sané and Nabry and Musiala and Goretzka and Kimmich and Excitement Davies, like you're brave, especially how slow they are. Was it Vertonghen, Otamendi, other centre backs?
yeah, we just need to be careful not to get caught up in the ball recovery points, thinking that, oh yeah, Bayern Munich going to get loads of ball recovery points. Like, the ceiling is so high for the Bayern Munich strikers. Like, they could score 5 or 6 and just completely wipe out any ball recoveries. You could even end up in the minuses. So it's just not worth.
Yeah, clean sheets override ball recoveries. It's just for me, when you look at ball recoveries, you want to pick the team that you want the clean sheet from, and then out of those players, you look at, right, okay, who's going to get attacking returns and who's going to get ball recoveries and who's not likely to get either. That's the process that you go through. What do you think the score is going to be?
Bayern Munich 4-0.
I'm going to go Bayern Munich 4-1. 4-1. Dynamo Kiev should have scored in that last game. That's one of the games I watched, and Neuer had to pull out an absolute worldie. I mean, worldie to stop Dynamo Kiev from scoring. Like, the thing with Bayern Munich is they do lose the head. Like, they were winning 2 or 3-0 at this point. I think it was 2-0 they were winning. It was, because it was the first half. They were winning 2-0, and they didn't have a single player in their own half other than Neuer. Not one player. And then you just see them all like trying to. You're winning 2-0. Why do you have 11 players in their box? Or 10 players, sorry.
Yeah.
Insanity. Barcelona Dynamo.
Yeah, this is
like, Europa League.
Who would have thought that Barcelona had fallen this much? With the players that they've got, you would think that it would still be able to function. But I feel like, if I remember correctly, Ronald Koeman, didn't he do the same before he left Southampton and Everton? He just completely capitulates on his job's under threat. No, because he left Everton for the Netherlands.
Southampton, not Southampton, but Everton fell apart.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever got going at Everton. I think it was just bad from start to finish. Southampton, no, he was excellent at Southampton, which is how he raised his profile.
But he's just a very divisive manager. Like, I just remember, I think I remember seeing some of his post-match interviews and getting annoyed by him. So I can't imagine what he's like to be coached by, but he was a great player. So Barcelona coming off 2 defeats before the international break. Benfica losing 3-0 and then losing to Atletico Madrid 2-0. Not good reading. Obviously, the Barcelona got a red card. Eric Garcia got red carded in the last game. So without him, I don't know in terms of injuries.
Araujo got injured for Spain or for under 21s. Araujo got injured anyway. So I think Araujo's out.
And then apparently Pedri is expected to miss both games, is what I've read.
Really?
Yeah.
They're absolutely stuffed without him. He's their best player.
According to Barca, some sort of Barca fan, well, not even a fan page, like a kind of pundits forum. So these are actual pundits, and it like quotes the channel that they're from. Pedri expected to miss both Barcelona games due to repetitive strain injury, which I'm not surprised. The amount of games that he's played in the last year.
He plays, it's insane. He plays like 2 games a day, every day.
I think his career is going to be cut short. Kind of looking ahead to 10 years' time. I think near the end of his career, he'll, because of the amount of mileage that he'll have in his legs.
Are you calling him the next Jack Wilshere? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, he's Jack Wilshere at his best. Pedri.
Oh, to be fair, Jack Wilshere at 18 was absolute mustard.
He was. I still remember that Giroud goal against Norwich. Still one of the best goals of all time.
One of the best goals I've ever seen. That.
Yeah.
But
But if he's
Yeah,
starting
with
to pick up these injuries now, and he's a teenager, that's not good reading for future. Like he needs to have help from his midfield, and it doesn't help that players like De Jong and stuff just keep getting similar type of injuries. But apparently that comes down to how Koeman trains. Apparently, I think I remember hearing an interview about different coaches that Koeman wants to make them suffer in training or something like that. Like he wants to make them work hard for their players. Make them work hard in the game. Like you don't want them going into a game already fatigued from training. Like training should be like tactical and stuff like that. Like
it's archaic. Honestly, it's a problem with a certain mentality of manager, and I don't want to name other managers, Steve Bruce, that have this benign, archaic, stupid mentality that you either have 1,000 days off or you must roll up your sleeves and you must work at 100 miles an hour. It's like they've never heard of the phrase work smart, not hard. And of course, you have to get up to a certain level of fitness. But once you're up to that level of fitness, it's about maintenance. And even Bielsa with his murder ball, that's not every day. It's like twice a week or something. And it's for I can't remember the exact amount of time. It's like 5 to 15 minutes or something, which just gets them to that little bit of a next step. It's not like going out and, back in my day, it's a bit like when Mourinho's introduced balls into pre-season for Chelsea, and John Terry was like, we've never seen this before. And it's like, you should always train with a ball. And like for sports science, it's been proven that 5 minutes, it is close to 100% with a ball in a small, like 3-a-side game, does the equivalent of a 5-mile run. But it's just archaic methods. Why would you want to hurt your players? And you can motivate them without having to make them suffer. It's stupid. What do you think the score's going to be? Oh, sorry, Dynamo. I'd actually choose Dynamo defenders and a goalkeeper, like genuinely against this lot. I don't think they're long term. And if you got on a limitless, maybe like why would you want to? But they're playing Barcelona twice. Honestly, why not?
Yeah, I think some people may still have Memphis Depay from their first team, especially if they limit the list in Matchday 2. If he's going to come good, it's going to be these games. Because he performed well again for the Netherlands. Showing that it's not the players, it's the manager and the system. Yeah. So Barcelona have to do something to turn this around, though. Just wait and see, I guess. My goal prediction, I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw.
I'm going 0-0. Boring.
Group F. So quite excited for this group this time round. Manchester United, they're going to be facing Atalanta 2 matches in a row. Oh man, exciting stuff. What's your opinion? Just first initial, is this going to be a game that you want to watch?
If I can, if it doesn't clash with other games, then yes.
Because for me, I see that a lot of top teams are facing, like, it's a lot of pot 1v pot 4s in this group, like in this kind of match day. But with this game, it's one of the only ones where the pots are closer together. And I think it's going to come down to these two and who wins the group. But Manchester United have to turn it around. Atalanta aren't solid, but they're the type of team that can exploit bad management, which Manchester United are really exploiting right now.
Yeah. The reason why I want to watch this is because I legitimately think Atalanta want to batter them. And I know that it was a bit of a slog against Young Boys. It was 1-0, but that's a better score than Man United got against Young Boys. And Young Boys have proven to be no pushovers, but Atalanta thoroughly dominated that game. Again, Zappacosta, I've got no idea how he didn't score more goals. We know that Atalanta are always hit and miss. That being said, Man United at the minute are just miss. Are you aware of what Ronaldo's goal record was like, roughly, against Atalanta when he played for Juve?
I think he would have... Juventus went through a stage where they were literally facing Atalanta and everything, and it came to the cups and stuff, and Atalanta won against Juventus most times. So I think Ronaldo scored, as you would expect, probably one every 2 games against them. But in terms of the team, Atalanta were the better team. So Ronaldo hardly had any chances to try and do better. I think the defense of Atalanta has improved a lot as well. So like over the last few years, obviously we had the emergence of Romero last year. So I think the defenses aren't even comparable to when, I think last year, it was 2 years ago when they faced Atalanta in the cup and lost. And that Atalanta team were the one that we were like, they're just so leaky. They're going to try and outscore you. I think this time they're actually more of a solid unit. So I don't think you can compare. We can kind of get an idea the same way that we did with Lukaku against Juventus.
Did they have any injuries at Atlanta?
I think we have to pay attention to Gersons because obviously he came off in the Champions League game. I had him. So even though Atlanta got the clean sheet, Gersons didn't, which hurts. But according to everything that I'm reading, he should be back fit. But according to United in Focus, I'm guessing that's a Manchester United page, Manchester United get early Atalanta boost with Robin Gersons ruled out. So
it looks like he would be out for a while by the injury. It didn't look like it was a little one. So
yeah, Football Italia, Atalanta lose Gersons for a month with a thigh strain. So
yeah,
Mele and Zappacosta, potentially the wing backs.
Yeah, I think they'll be pretty nailed. No idea what side they're going to be on though, because Mela came on left wing back, Zappacosta stayed right wing back. Second half, Zappacosta went to left wing back, Mela went to right. I don't think they looked as comfortable on those sides. I definitely think Mela, whether he's a right wing back or not, looks better on the left, and Zappacosta is a right wing back.
There's no coincidence that Denmark are the second team to qualify for the World Cup, and Mele's on the left back.
So he looks really dangerous on that left, and Zappacosta looked more dangerous on the right if the players had passed him the ball as well. There was some selfishness going on in attacking areas. Man United without Varane and Maguire. Fred will likely be back for that, so even better for Atalanta. I think Man United are in some serious trouble. We'll see how they get on this weekend. But even if they win this weekend, which is the most Ollie, it's the most Ollie thing to do, isn't it, winning this weekend? He's in loads of bother. It's down. People are asking for his head now. Even the win at Villarreal, Man United fans complained, which, I mean, they were really bad. I don't know how De Gea didn't get man of the match. And yet, that is when Ollie comes up, trumps with the goods, doesn't he? That's when he'll nick a little 2-0 or something that he does it. And then everything's roses. That being said, I think even if they do beat Leicester, which I think is still a doubt, with their two main centre-backs missing, anything could happen in that game. I think Atalanta are going to give them a good hiding, actually.
Yeah, I don't know how long Wan-Bissaka's suspension is, but I think he's out of this game as well.
Yes, it got extended to 2 games.
So yeah, you've got 3 of the back 4 missing. So potentially people like Muriel, Zapata, I don't know who's playing, but we'll have a look on the weekend, see what they're.
Zapata got a goal and an assist at the weekend, although his goal was a penalty, I believe.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what team Atalanta put out over the weekend, and then potentially try and match that, because the Atalanta coach, he likes to trial his starting 11s before and then make loads of subs kind of later. So he'll make loads of subs about 70 minutes to kind of keep people fresh. So I think whatever starting 11 he plays in the weekend against Empoli, play that.
That's good to go for the Champions League.
That's what I would say. Just from from kind of track record, I would do that.
Would you wild card anyone? Limitless wild card anyone from this game? Ronaldo,
I
Zapata.
think Ronaldo's still in my team. Yeah, he is because he was my captain. But I want Atalanta players, and it's a shame Gerson's isn't there because Gerson's against a Wan-Bissaka list right back. Oh, that would have been beautiful. That would have been captain material.
Yeah.
If Mela's on the left, that's a really tempting. But you really just don't know with the wing backs. So look at this weekend.
Yeah, we need to look at this weekend because whoever's playing left wing back is legitimately a shout for captaincy from that team because they're just mental.
Mm-hmm.
But it should be Mela really.
With Manchester United, they've got Liverpool next weekend as well. So it wouldn't put me past it that Ollie tries something stupid and rotates people and
he loves rotating. He thinks he's Sir Alex.
Yeah, he absolutely loves it. So I wouldn't go near Bruno Fernandes, even though he's still doing really, really well. Not as bad as what I thought he would be when Ronaldo's there. He's still getting the goods, but I just wouldn't. I think he's more likely. I think this kind of game is set up for someone like a Van der Beek for redemption, but I want Atalanta to win, so I'm not going to pray too hard for that.
What do you think the score's going to be?
I'm going to go Atalanta 3-1.
I have a 3-1. 3-1. Next
game. The other game in this group, Young Boys versus Villarreal. Like what you said, Young Boys are no pushover. The game is at Young Boys, and they got that result against Manchester United. You can't rule them out. Villarreal they're not the best, but I think they're still good enough to get something still from this group because of the way Manchester United are playing. Because if Manchester United lose both games to Atalanta, which the way that Atalanta are playing is possible, then Villarreal could fancy their chances. So I think this is going to be a really interesting game. I think it puts a lot of pressure on Ollie if Manchester United lose and any of these teams win. If Young Boys win, it makes it even harder. So interesting in that regard. Just sounds like I'm bashing against Manchester United. I'm just sorry that your team's bad.
It's not as bad as ours.
No, I'm just sorry that your manager's bad. Your team is good. It's just the management. See what happens. Ollie always turns it around though. So when he's at the
We're talking about Villarreal, man, Aaron. Come on.
Villarreal, Unai Emery. Who knows? He might be going for a Europa League spot. Get another trophy.
He loves it. He knows he'll win that one. I think Villarreal, because the player system, are able to perform really well in games, and I think they just came up against a brick wall in David De Gea against Man United. I think if another keeper was in goal on that day, then I generally think Villarreal could have walked all over Man United results-wise, which is obviously, I mean, Man United won 2-1 and their own fans were saying this is really bad, which I think we should listen to their fans. So I think Villarreal have got what it takes. And looking at Young Boys against Atalanta, they created a couple of good chances, but with so many, they created a lot of chances against Man United and took 2. So I think they need a lot of chances, and I think Villarreal aren't going to give them up as easy because they're just so system orientated. I've got Grunewald. I'm really happy I have him. He is a limitless option. Make no bones about it. He's been great. I think he's been their best player this season so far. I'm happy I've got him. He's definitely going to be playing for me. And I'm going to go for Villarreal 2-0.
I'll say 2-1. I think Young Boys will still score. On to the next group. The early kickoff on the Wednesday. Salzburg versus Wolfsburg. I think a lot of people are still... There's a lot of players I've missed out on. And Ruslan one of them, obviously with his Matchday 1 return. But in terms of this game, in this group, I still find it quite difficult to call. It's still early enough where anything could still happen. What do you think about it?
I think one of my transfers, if I'm allowed to, like depending on injuries and stuff, might be Hala to Adeyemi. Adeyemi is just dynamite, and he's winning so many penalties. I only got 2 points for them, but then he's taken them.
Mm-hmm.
So if
his goals count for like a defender's goals,
yeah. So basically, if he misses, it's no harm, no foul because you lose 2 points, so it's 0. And if he scores, you've got 8. You get 6 points, and then he's immediately in the billing for player of the match for 7.5 million, and he's going to get a price rise, 100% off the last game. I think Salzburg are the best team in this group. I think we can see that now. Wolfsburg started the season the best out of these 4, but they've started coming down now. I think their early season excitement's now dead in the water. They aren't performing particularly well in the Bundesliga. They haven't performed well. I know that they conceded a last-minute penalty, which was never a penalty, to Sevilla, so they could have got a 1-0 win in that game. But I don't think they deserved to win that game 1-0 from what I saw of it. I thought they were fortunate to get to that point, and then, like I said, they didn't deserve to concede that goal. I was quite happy that they did, because I took Russell on out, and then I think he got booked and they conceded, so he only got a 1-pointer or something daft. So I think Adeyemi is good for everyone at his price as well. And it doesn't matter it's not just about this week, because obviously he's going to have Wolfsburg the next 2 weeks, but then he's got Lille and Sevilla, or Sevilla then Lille.
And the way that they play as well, he could get a return in every of them games, as a penalty taker, but also being so dynamic that he is. And so, I think a lot of teams, because they're so, the other teams in this, they're in very competitive leagues. Salzburg are still an unknown to a lot of these teams. Sevilla will probably spend more time scouting the teams around them in Spain than they'll spend scouting Salzburg. So Adeyemi can still spring a surprise on some of these players, on some of these teams, and that just makes him even better for his price point, even better of a pick. A lot of people have Depay still in their team. In a heartbeat, I would go from Depay to Adeyemi because of the remaining fixtures. Barcelona have got to face Bayern Munich again. Why would you still have him in your team? And then you save $1 million. Actually, you'd probably even save more, because then Adeyemi will get a price rise. And I don't know how that will work out in my head, but either way, you'll get some money back.
Yeah. What do you think the score's going to be for this one?
I'm going to go Salzburg win because they're at home. I'm going to go 3-1.
I'm going to go 2-0 Salzburg. Adeyemi brace. Come on, Adeyemi.
And then 4 million defenders getting clean sheets.
Yeah, or Salzburg, yeah.
Yeah.
Could very well be. The thing is, as well, if you've got Adeyemi as one of your forwards, and let's say your other ones are Lewandowski, and if Haaland's playing, so let's say you've got Lewandowski, Haaland, Adeyemi, it means you can have Salah, not on a limitless, just you can have Salah in midfield. Providing you've got someone, providing you've got someone like Zata Costa and defender, you need a 4 million defender in there. Yeah, that sounds better to me than other options. Then Sevilla versus Lille. I think En-Nesyri is back for Sevilla, and Lille still don't fill me with any kind of confidence whatsoever.
This is a comfortable Sevilla win, to be honest. Potentially, Benu, good goalkeeping option.
I think Benu. Obviously, Carlos. I don't know if Acuna got injured. I couldn't find any more information on that. I think he got a niggle, and I don't know if he's fit again. So that might be just worth keeping an eye out on for. But definitely Diego Carlos. And this is the time where En-Nesyri, and I think En-Nesyri is going to go off this week. And I mean, actually go off, not get sent off.
Yeah.
That's my hot take of the week. Because my Marco Asensio shout worked out so well. So we'll go. I reckon En-Nesyri could do really well in that game. And Rakitic is on pens. He's got 2-2 now because Sevilla, this group loves a pen. Been pens in every game. I think. Oh, Wolfsburg, Lille wasn't. It was nearly a pen in the 96th minute. It was like that far away. So Rakitic, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't play as often enough.
I'm going to go Sevilla 2-0.
Yeah, I'm going to go Sevilla 2-0 as well.
Last group. Starting off, Zenit and Juventus. I guess I'll start with I guess I'll start with Juventus. In terms of any injury news, I think there's not any like standout ones. I think everyone's back because they would have been rested in the international break. Because when I've tried searching it up, it's just about Juventus just trying to raid the transfer market in January. They haven't been at their scintillating best, especially not in Serie A. So, but this is a game where Juventus and Allegri normally grind out a result. It'll be boring 1-0 in my opinion. And whoever gets the goal, I think Dybala is too expensive, but if you're able to get him in, probably he's the one I would recommend.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have anyone on this, but I think this is going to be quite a dull game, to be honest.
You reckon? I think it's made for Chiesa. Especially if you're on Limitless for his price, 9 or 9.5, something like that. He's the one that turns the game around. He's the one that'll pick up, he'll drive. He's so deceptively quick. Very, very fast. He can score from anywhere. He can score in the box, outside the box. He can score coming in from the left. He can score coming in from the right. He can score when he's down the middle. He doesn't have a high ceiling. I think his ceiling is a goal. Maybe a goal and assist if you have a bit of a red letter day for him. But then, he's got Zenit twice in a row. And then he's got Malmo again. So if you're not even a Limitless and you are looking for a 3-game good section, then why not? I think that's a good enough shout to go for. For someone like me who's looking at a Limitless in 5, I'll probably be having him in against Malmo. I think Juventus are going to win 2-1 for this game.
I've already said 1-0. I think because they're against Roma, and then they've got Inter Milan next week. I think whoever they play against Roma is probably going to be the same that play in Zenit. I just think there'll be a few early subs. They're going to try and get the result quick and then just defend the lead. That's, I think, typical old-fashioned Italian style, not the new attacking.
The new wave. Yeah.
And then Chelsea versus Malmo, which I feel like a lot of people will be interested in, especially because they're the early kickoff next match day. It'll be interesting to know if Tuchel is going to rotate heavily or whether you'll try just solid team. My prediction is that he's going to rotate heavily. I think people like Pulisic and players like that, I think they're going to get a start against Malmo. But I still think that Lukaku, depending on his injury, I think Lukaku will play, but I think Werner potentially is a good option for Malmo. Yeah, which I never thought I'd say Werner's a good option.
Yeah, he's looked. Honestly, I've been tinkering with him in a few FPL wildcards. He's not in. I remember Mason Mount was back, and I was like, I'm not sure if he's going to play. I've just received a text saying that. So I'm imagining this is from Tuchel's presser today that Rudiger might be out this weekend. So he's one. That's just a text off someone. I don't know where. I saw pop up Rudiger out, and I know Tuchel's pressers today, so we'll all know by Tuesday and Wednesday. So it's one to keep an eye out on for to maybe beware with any early transfers. You shouldn't be making transfers, as we always say, until 5 o'clock on Tuesday, when or 4:45 when the teams get put out. I think Alonso is probably going to play. If in my mind, and I could be very, very wrong, I think Chilwell is going to get the next few Prem games, and I think Alonso against Malmo is good to go. And I think he's probably the best fit because he's not as good defensively as Ben Chilwell, but we know what he's like attacking wise. And Malmo are going to sit deep. And also, he's really tall, he's really physical. So I think against those physical teams, he's going to do probably a bit better than Ben Chilwell. So I think it's a smarter choice to have Chilwell play in the league with their league fixtures and then have Alonso, because he's not been in the best form the last couple of weeks. I know he had an amazing start of the season, but the last 2 games that he's played, he's been subbed off and he's not been very good. So I think it could be a good chance just to get him into some kind of form as well, because I know that Tuchel would probably prefer that he had 2 left backs playing at the top of their game so that they could compete against each other. Reece James, we don't know if he's going to be back or not. I think Chelsea's defence is such a watch, wait and see.
I think someone like Chalobah could be a good shout because we don't know about Thiago Silva and the whole Brazil situation. Rudiger, I've just read there, is very 25% chance of playing in the Premier League because of his back injury.
So that doesn't sound like he's going to be fit for midweek. He might be.
But someone like Chalobah, Christensen, potentially because Reece James, this was the time scale that they had on Reece James's injury. Potentially Azpilicueta playing as a centre back as well. Apparently, according to the Chelsea, some of the Chelsea news places, they think that Loftus-Cheek will be in contention to start against Malmo and keep his form going. But like I said, it's really hard. I think a lot of people are paying attention to this fixture just to kind of, if you've already used your limitless, just to kind of have an idea about your future transfers, because if you rotate heavily, then it means that when you're kind of tinkering with your transfers, you can be like, right, I'm going to go from potentially Sane to Loftus-Cheek or Sane to Pulisic. Or Ziyech. I don't know if he's injured or anything. And then that way you could be like, right, and then I'll use these funds to go from Benzema to Haaland or someone kind of, you know what I mean? Like you can use, if he rotates a lot, you can kind of use that kind of mentality to tinker for future transfers, knowing to up a few people. But wait and see, I guess. I don't know if
I'm not
because they play on the second day. It depends how much of a climb you need to make to get back into the ranks. I
personally think, because Havertz isn't playing too much, I think you should play Havertz like you did last year in that false 9 with Werner and Pulisic running off him, and obviously rest up for the league because they can come through in this game. But the thing is, for Tuchel, because the loss against Juventus, I think it might be a case of I want 3 points in this game. I want to get it done and dusted. And then with 6 points behind us, it doesn't really matter what Juventus do. I can then rotate maybe for the next game. I think managers like doing that. I think top managers just think about the 3 points first of all. And then, if they've got 6 points after 3 games, it's like, well, we're halfway there really. Because if you get 12 points, you're going through, really. Mm-hmm. What do you think the score's going to be?
I'm going to go Chelsea 4-0.
Big. I'm going to go Chelsea 3-0. Chelsea 3-0. Well, took us a while, but that's us done, Aaron. Aaron is going on holiday, as I said at the beginning. So you're doing the next one whilst on holiday, yes?
Yes, because you'll be on holiday for the next one.
No, I will be on holiday for the next one, yes. So I won't be here for the next. I'll be here for the reviews, I think. Yeah. Time is such a weird concept these days. So I'll be on for the review with you and Nathan and Cameron, hopefully. And then for the next previews, I'll be missing, but you'll be doing them with Nathan, I think. And maybe Cameron if he wants to do it, whatever. But thank you so much for listening. Appreciate it's been a while. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. We are at UCL Fantasy Pod. Give us a like and a subscribe, and we will see you next time for our review. If you've got any questions, tweet them to me, and I'll do my best to answer as best as I can. But remember, we do just play this game for the bands. So we'll see you later. Take care now. Bye.